A South Korean mathematician has solved a geometry problem that has challenged experts for nearly 60 years. Dr. Baek Jin-on, who is 31 years old, found the answer to what is called the moving sofa problem. Geometry is a branch of mathematics that studies shapes and space. The moving sofa problem asks a simple question. What is the largest shape that can move around a corner in a hallway? The hallway is, I'm sure you've heard of this before. The hallway is shaped like the letter L, and each part of the hallway is 1 meter wide. The shape must be able to turn the corner without being lifted or tilted. Tilted means leaning to one side. It sounds simple, but is actually very difficult to solve. This is a very famous math problem. The problem was first asked in 1966 by a mathematician named Leo Moser. Moser was from Austria and Canada. The problem became famous because anyone can understand it without knowing advanced mathematics. The problem has appeared in textbooks, and many people have tried to solve it over the years. In 1968, a British mathematician named John Hammersley suggested a shape that was about 2.2074 square meters in area. In 1992, Joseph Gerver, a professor at Rutgers University in the United States, proposed a different shape with a more complex design. This shape had an area about 2.2195 square meters. Gerver's shape became the best answer so far, but no one could prove that a larger shape was impossible. Dr. Baek worked on this problem for 7 years. In late 2024, he published a 119-page paper on a website called ARXIV. ARXIV is a place where scientists share their research before it is officially published. In this paper, Dr. Baek proved that Gerver's shape is the largest size possible. What makes Dr. Baek's work special is that he did not use computers to find the answer. Many other researchers tried to solve the problem using computer programs, but Dr. Baek used pure mathematical reasoning instead. Reasoning means thinking through a problem step by step using some logic. Dr. Baek described his research process as difficult but rewarding. Rewarding means giving satisfaction and a sense of achievement. It makes you feel good. He said, you keep holding on to hope, then breaking it and moving forward by picking up ideas from the ashes. He also said, for me, mathematical research is like dreaming and waking up over and over again. The American magazine Scientific American named Dr. Baek's work as one of the top 10 mathematical breakthroughs of 2025. A breakthrough is an important discovery, we've discussed this before, an important discovery that solves a difficult problem. Remember? His paper is now being reviewed by other mathematicians at a journal called Annals of Mathematics. This is one of the most respected mathematics journals in the world. Dr. Baek earned his doctorate degree from the University of Michigan. He solved the problem when he was 29 years old while working at Yonsei University in Seoul. He is now a research fellow at the Jun-Ih Center for Mathematical Challenges at the Korea Institute for Advanced Study. A research fellow is a scientist who does advanced research at a university or institute. All right, let's move into our second story. This one is a little bit different. We're talking about entertainment. An animated film inspired by K-pop culture won 2 major awards at the Golden Globes on Sunday. K-pop Demon Hunters won Best Animated Feature and Best Original Song for its hit track, Golden. The Golden Globes is an important American awards ceremony that honors the best films and television shows of each year. I'm sure you've heard of it. The film was directed by Maggie Kong and Chris Applehans and was made by Netflix and Sony Pictures Animation. The movie tells the story of Huntrix, a made-up K-pop girl group with 3 members named Rumi, Mita, and Zoe. The group performs at sold-out concerts, but they also have a secret. The 3 girls are demon hunters who protect their fans from magical threats. When accepting the award for Best Animated Feature, director Maggie Kong thanked everyone who believed that a movie based on Korean culture could reach audiences around the world. She said the film wanted to show female characters as really strong and bold, really silly and weird, and really hungry for food. The songwriters for Golden also won the award for Best Original Song. One of the songwriters, Kim Eun-jae, who goes by the name EJ, gave an emotional speech. She cried as she spoke about her personal journey. She said, "When I was a little girl, I worked tirelessly for 10 years to fulfill one dream, to become a K-pop idol," EJ said. Tirelessly means working very hard without stopping, even when you're tired. Fulfill means to achieve or to complete something. I was rejected and disappointed that my voice wasn't good enough. Rejected means told no or not accepted. I leaned on songs and music to get through, she said. EJ dedicated the award to anyone who had doors closed on them. Dedicated means to give something as a gift or honor to somebody. She said, "I can confidently say rejection is redirection. So never give up. It's never too late to shine like you were born to be." Redirection means to change a direction, to being pointed in a different, possibly better direction. Since its release on Netflix in June 2025, K-pop Demon Hunters has become the streaming service's most watched film ever, with over 500 million views as of December 2025. The film's music has also been extremely popular. 3 songs from the movie, including Golden, spent several weeks on Billboard's Hot 100 chart, which tracks the most popular songs in the United States. The film was also chosen as a possible winner for the Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award at the Golden Globes, but did not win that category. Netflix and Sony Pictures Animation have said they are working on a second movie that will continue the story. The second film is expected to be released in 2029. Seoul City bus drivers went on strike on Tuesday morning. A strike is when workers stop working to ask for better conditions. In Korean, we would say 파업. The drivers want higher wages, which is money workers earn for jobs, 임금. About 6,540 buses stopped running. This is 93% of all city buses in Seoul. The strike started at 4 a.m. Wage negotiations, which means wage and discussion about the wage, 임금 협상, failed on Monday night. The bus drivers' union and the bus company managers talked for more than 10 hours. They could not reach an agreement, meaning both sides accepting the same decision. They could not decide. 합의. The union says drivers work long hours but receive low pay. Many drivers work more than 10 hours per day. They want better working conditions and higher salaries. The strike caused major problems for people trying to get to work. Commuters, 통근자, had to find other ways to travel. Many tried to take taxis. However, taxis were very hard to find during rush hour. 출퇴근 시간 is rush hour. Some people waited more than 30 minutes for a taxi. Others gave up and walked to subway stations. Subway trains were much more crowded than usual. The Seoul city government added 172 extra subway trains. They also made trains run later at night until 2 a.m. However, subways were still 20 to 30% more crowded than normal. Some people said Line 2 had technical problems and stopped for more than 15 minutes. As you know, here in Seoul, Line 2 is one of the busiest subway lines in Seoul. It connects Gangnam, Eulljiro, and other major business areas in the big circle. Kim Won-jung is from Suwon in Gyeonggi Province. He usually takes a city bus after riding an intercity bus. Intercity bus is 시외버스 and are buses that travel between cities. On Tuesday morning, he waited at his usual bus stop near Suncheongyang University Hospital in Yongsan-gu. No city buses came. The electronic signs said, "Waiting for departure." He tried to get a taxi but could not find one. He said, "They notified Seoul residents about the strike, but I didn't know about it." Lee Ju-yeon lives in eastern Seoul. She works near Onju Station in southern Seoul. She normally takes one subway and one bus. On Tuesday, she had to take 2 subway transfers. This is when you change from one train to another, or 환승. Her office is on a hill. She usually gets off the bus at a stop near her office. On Tuesday, she had to walk up the hill in icy weather. She said, "I'm already exhausted." The Seoul city government set up emergency shuttle buses, shuttle bus. These buses connected major subway stations with nearby areas. However, there were not enough shuttle buses. Many people waited a long time. District governments also tried to help. They added more shuttle buses in their areas. At one shuttle bus stop in Yongsan-gu, there were no signs or staff to help people. Even police officers nearby did not know where the buses were going. When a shuttle bus arrived, elderly people ran across icy streets to catch it. This was dangerous. The streets were slippery and people could easily fall. Some foreign tourists were also confused. They waited for a bus to Shinsa Station in Gangnam. A district official told them to take an intercity bus instead. However, that route required multiple transfers. The tourists looked very uncertain about what to do. Only intercity buses and village buses, the 마을버스, small buses that serve the local neighborhood, were running normally on Tuesday. Blue city buses, which form the main public transportation system, were all stopped. The union has not announced when the strike will end, so we will see what happens. Our second story stays here in Korea. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung arrived in Japan on Tuesday. He will meet with Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi for 2 days. The meeting is called a summit. This is 정상회담. They will meet in Nara, a city in western Japan. This is Lee's second visit to Japan as president. It is also his third meeting with Takaichi. The timing is important. Lee met with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing last week. Now he is meeting with Japan's leader. This is difficult because China and Japan have serious problems with each other right now. In November, Prime Minister Takaichi made comments about Taiwan, as I'm sure you've heard. She said if China attacks Taiwan, Japan might need to respond. China was very angry about this. China says Taiwan belongs to China. Taiwan governs itself. However, China says Taiwan is part of China. The two leaders will discuss several topics. One important issue is South Korea joining a trade group called the CPTPP. A trade group is 무역 협정. It is an organization where countries agree to buy and sell goods. They have lower taxes and fewer restrictions. 12 countries in the Asia-Pacific region are members. Japan leads this partnership. South Korea wants to join. Japan's support is very important. However, Japan wants South Korea to do something first. South Korea banned seafood imports from 8 areas of Japan in 2013. South Korea made this ban because of safety concerns or safety worries. In 2011, there was a nuclear accident in Fukushima. Many Koreans worry about eating Japanese seafood because of possible contamination, 오염. President Lee said lifting the ban, 금지 해제, which means ending a rule or stopping something, will take time. He said the government must address public concerns first. However, he knows this issue is important for joining the CPTPP. The two leaders will also discuss historical issues. Japan ruled Korea from 1910 to 1945. One specific topic is the Chosei coal mine disaster, which is the Cheonan. It's a terrible disaster. In 1942, an undersea mine flooded. It killed 183 workers. Among them were 136 Korean workers who were forced to work there against their will. Japan never brought back their bodies. South Korea hopes to work with Japan to recover these bodies. This is called humanitarian cooperation. 인도적 협력. It means helping people in ways that show respect for human life. This approach focuses on the victims' families rather than arguing about who is responsible. On Wednesday, the two leaders will visit Horyuji Temple together. This Buddhist temple is in Nara and has a very old wooden building from the 7th or 8th century. The temple shows how culture came to Japan from Korea many centuries ago. Meeting in Nara, not Tokyo, shows that both leaders want to emphasize 강조하다, which means to give special importance to something, cultural connections. President Lee will also meet with Koreans living in Japan before returning home on Wednesday afternoon. This visit is part of shuttle diplomacy, 황복 외교, which is regular visits between leaders of neighboring countries. Both countries agreed to continue these regular meetings last year. The goal is to keep improving relations through face-to-face talks. Seoul's bus drivers stopped working for a second day on Wednesday, January 14th. About 6,540 city buses remained off the roads. This is 93% of all buses in Seoul. The stoppage, 중단, which means the stopping of activity or stopping of some action, started Tuesday at 4 a.m. after talks between bus drivers and management failed. The workers group wants a 3% pay raise, the 임금 인상. Management offered a 10% increase but wants to change the pay system. On Tuesday, only 478 buses ran. That is less than 7% of all buses. The Seoul city government made bus rides free until service returns to at least 30%. Subways were 20 to 30% more crowded than normal. Many people had to wait a long time for taxis. We talked about this yesterday. The stoppage is expected to continue at least through Wednesday evening, which was correct. The workers' group said that even if they reach a deal on Wednesday, buses will not run again until Thursday morning. The Seoul government said the stoppage costs about 10 billion won per day. That is about $6.7 million. It's quite a lot. Many people who travel to work every day did not know about the stoppage. Some waited at bus stops for a long time before realizing no buses were coming. Others walked to subway stations in cold weather. Also, many tourists and foreigners that don't understand the emergency messages were left very confused. The main disagreement means 의견 부리기, which means when people cannot agree, is about how to calculate the pay. The workers want bonuses to be separate from regular pay. Management wants to include bonuses in the base salary. Both sides have not scheduled new talks yet. However, as of this morning, I heard that they reached an agreement. All right, let's jump into story 2. We're moving to the United States now. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel rejected President Donald Trump's demand that Cuba make a deal with the United States. Trump said Sunday that Cuba will no longer receive oil and money from Venezuela. For many years, Cuba received large amounts of oil and financial aid from Venezuela. However, U.S. forces captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro last week. Remember from our news story? Trump announced that Venezuela will give between 30 million and 50 million barrels of oil to the United States instead of Cuba. Trump wrote on Truth Social on Sunday that, quote, there will be no more oil or money going to Cuba. Zero. He said Cuba must make a deal before it's too late. Trump did not say what kind of deal he wants. Diaz-Canel responded on X saying, no one dictates means 지시하다, what we do. He said Cuba has been attacked by the United States for 66 years. He said Cuba is ready to defend itself. Cuba said 32 of its citizens were killed during the U.S. military operation to capture Maduro. Many of them were military or security personnel. Security personnel is 보안 요원. It's people who protect the government or some important people or important location, helping to protect Maduro in Venezuela. Cuba's foreign minister, Bruno Rodriguez, strongly criticized the United States. He said the U.S. threatens peace not only in Cuba, but in the entire world. Trump later told reporters on Air Force One that the U.S. is talking to Cuba. However, Diaz-Canel said Monday that Cuba has had no talks with the U.S. except for technical contacts. Technical contacts are their 기술적 접촉, which are like their limited communications about some issue, about people moving between the two countries. So nothing involving Venezuela. All right, let's move to the third story. Today, we're going to do a little bit different. Back in South Korea, South Korean prosecutors requested the death penalty for former President Yoon Suk-yeol on Tuesday. Yoon is on trial. Trial is 재판, we talked about before, which is when a court decides if someone is guilty of a crime. for charges of leading an insurrection. Insurrection is 내란, to overthrow the government. The charges related to Yoon's declaration, which it means an official announcement, 선언, of martial law on December 3rd, 2024. Martial law is when the military takes control instead of normal government. Prosecutors say Yoon's martial law declaration was unconstitutional and illegal. Under Korean law, the crime of leading an insurrection has only 3 possible punishments. These are death, life imprisonment with labor, or life imprisonment without labor. There are no other options like shorter prison sentences. Prosecutors said Yoon tried to destroy constitutional order by using armed forces and police to suppress the National Assembly. They said he sent troops to stop lawmakers from voting to end martial law. He also ordered troops to enter the National Election Commission building and tried to cut power and water to media companies. The prosecutors described Yoon's actions as an unprecedented and grave act of constitutional destruction. They said Yoon showed no reflection on the damage he caused. They argued that Yoon's greatest victims were the Korean people, who have defended democratic freedoms for decades. The court will announce its ruling on February 19th. This will be one of the most important decisions in South Korea's modern legal history. 7 senior military and police officials were also indicted. Indicted means officially charged with crime, like 기소된, including former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun. Prosecutors requested life imprisonment for Kim. They said Kim played a key role in carrying out the martial law operation. Our last story today is still in Korea, and it's about sports. Earlier this month, on January 2nd, professional gamer Lee Sung-hyuk, known as Faker, became the first esports athlete to receive South Korea's highest sports medal. As you know, it's an award given to honor achievements. President Lee Jae-myung presented Faker with the Chongnong Medal at a ceremony. Ceremony is a formal event where people receive awards, 시상식. And the Chongnong Medal, also called the Blue Dragon Medal, is the top level of South Korea's Order of Sports Merit. This award is usually given to Olympic gold medalists and world champions. Past recipients include figure skater Kim Yoona, soccer player Son Heung-min, and baseball player Park Chan-ho. Faker is a League of Legends player, I'm sure you know, who has won 6 world championship titles. This is more than any other player in the game's history. He also won a gold medal at the 2023 Asian Games in Hangzhou, China. League of Legends is an e-sport competition, which means competitive video games where players compete professionally. I don't need to tell you, but I want to include it. This award is historic because it shows that the South Korean government now recognizes esports as an official sport. For many years, esports organizations tried to be accepted as real sports. This medal marks a major change in how the government views competitive gaming. I think of all the countries, South Korea should definitely be the first to include esports as an official sport. Faker made his professional debut, of course you know debut, which means the first time someone performs professionally. It's also a Konglish word. In 2013 with SK Telecom T1. Over his career, he has won 10 Korean championship titles and 2 mid-season invitational titles. He is widely considered the greatest League of Legends player of all time. The award ceremony took place at the presidential office in Seoul. Faker said receiving the medal was a great honor and that he hopes it will help esports continue to grow in South Korea. Although this award was announced 2 weeks ago, it represents an important moment for the esports industry in South Korea and around the world. China reported a record trade surplus of $1.2 trillion in 2025. A trade surplus is when a country sells more goods to other countries than it buys from them. It's like 무역 흑자. 무역 흑자 is trade surplus. This is a 20% increase from the previous year. China's exports rose 5.5% to $3.77 trillion. Exports means goods that the country sells to other countries, like 수출. 수출 is exports. However, imports stayed flat at $2.58 trillion. Imports are the opposite of exports, means goods that a country buys from other countries. 수입. Suip is imports. The United States has placed high tariffs on Chinese goods. Tariffs, I'm sure you know. They are taxes that countries charge on imported goods, on 수입 goods. These are 관세. 관세 is tariff. U.S. tariffs on Chinese products currently stand at 47.5%. Huge. Despite these tariffs, China's exports continue to grow. China made up for lost sales to the U.S. by selling more to other regions. Exports to Africa increased 26%. Exports to Southeast Asian countries jumped 13%. Exports to Europe rose 8%. The strong export growth helped China's economy despite weak domestic demand. Domestic demand means how much people inside a country want to buy something, want to buy some goods. 국내 수요. 국내 수요 is domestic demand. Chinese consumers are spending less money because of economic problems at home. Economists expect China's trade surplus to stay above $1 trillion in 2026. However, some analysts warn that too much reliance on exports could be risky if global demand slows down. All right, let's move to space. 4 astronauts returned to Earth early on Thursday after a medical emergency in space. The astronauts splashed down in the Pacific Ocean off California at 3:41 a.m. To splash down means to land in water. It's like 착수하다, 착수했어요. 착수하다 is splash down. The crew included 2 NASA astronauts, 1 Japanese astronaut, and 1 Russian cosmonaut. A cosmonaut is a Russian astronaut. 우주 비행사 is cosmonaut. They left the International Space Station on Wednesday evening after living there for 167 days. 1 crew member developed a serious medical condition. NASA did not say who the astronaut was or what the medical condition was. The space station is a large spacecraft where astronauts live and work. It is 우주 정거장. Yeah, 우주 정거장 is space station, okay? NASA decided to bring all 4 crew members home early for safety reasons. This is the first medical evacuation in the space station's 25-year history. An evacuation means removing people from a dangerous place. 대피. 대피 is evacuation. The astronauts were supposed to stay in space until mid-February. Living in space affects the human body in many ways. Astronauts' bones become weaker, their muscles shrink, their eyes can change shape because fluids move upward to the head in microgravity. Microgravity means very little gravity or weightlessness. 무중력. 무중력 is microgravity. After landing, the astronauts will receive medical care in San Diego. They will need time to readjust to Earth's gravity. The sick crew member is stable and doing fine, according to NASA. Now let's move to sports, especially here in Korea. South Korea will play Australia in the quarterfinals of the Asian U23 football tournament. The quarterfinals is 8강. 8강 is the round where 8 teams are remaining. The match will take place on Saturday at midnight Korean time in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Korea finished second in Group C with 4 points. They won 1 match, drew 1, and lost 1. To draw, or drew, means to finish a game with the same score. 무승부하다, 무승부했어요, means to draw. Korea lost their final group match to Uzbekistan 2-0 on Tuesday. However, they still advanced to the quarterfinals when Lebanon beat Iran 1-0. Korea did not score goals in 2 of their 3 group matches. They started with a goalless draw against Iran. Remember, draw is 무승부하다, okay? Then they beat Lebanon 4-2 after falling behind twice. The loss to Uzbekistan was disappointing. Coach Lee Min-sung said Australia is a well-organized team. They have a good balance between offense and defense. Defense means protecting your goal to stop the other team from scoring. It's also used in military. It means subi. Subi means defense. Lee said Australia can be very physical. Korea and Australia played 2 friendly matches in June 2025. A friendly match is a practice game that does not count in official competitions. It's 친선 경기. 친선 경기 is friendly match. The first match ended 0-0. Australia won the second match 2-0. The winner will play either Japan or Jordan in the semifinals on Tuesday. Korea won this tournament in 2020. That is their only title in 7 editions of the competition. All right, now into the world of AI. Apple announced on Monday that it will use Google's AI technology to power its new version of Siri. The partnership will last for multiple years. Siri, as you know, is Siri, right? Apple chose Google's Gemini 3 model after carefully testing different AI companies. Gemini 3 is Google's newest artificial intelligence system. Apple will pay Google about $1 billion per year under the licensing agreement. A licensing agreement is when one company pays for another company to use its technology. License 계약, right? License 계약 is licensing agreement, all right? This is a major victory for Google. Google's AI will now power features on both Android phones and iPhones. This gives Google control over billions of smartphone users worldwide. The deal is a significant setback for OpenAI. A setback is an event that delays or reverses progress. 좌절 is setback. Apple already has a partnership with OpenAI to use ChatGPT for some features. However, Google's AI will now be the main technology behind Siri. Analysts say this shifts the competitive landscape. The competitive landscape is an overall situation of competition in an industry. It's like a 경쟁 구도, 구도? 경쟁 구도. 경쟁 구도 is competitive landscape. One analyst called it a huge loss for OpenAI. Google surprised OpenAI late last year when Gemini 3 outperformed OpenAI's models on industry tests. To outperform means to do something better than someone or something. It means like 능가하다, 능가했어요. That means 능가했어요 means did better. The new AI-powered Siri is expected to launch later this year.